الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فقال الله سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإنك لعلى خلق عظيم وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم تخلقوا بأخلاق الله وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ما من شيء أثقل في ميزان العبد يوم القيامة من حسن الخلق. سئل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن أكثر ما يدخل الناس الجنة قال تقوى الله وحسن الخلق. وسئل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن أكثر ما يدخل الناس النار قال الفم والفرج. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أكمل المؤمنين إيمانا أحسنهم خلقا. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في حديث أنا زعيم ببيت في أعلى الجنة لمن حسن خلقه. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم البر حسن الخلق والإثم ما حاك في صدرك وكرهت أن يطلع عليه الناس أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. One amazing malfuz of Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi rahmatullah alayhi. He says, अगर तकवा के किसी दर्जे पर अमल करने से किसी की दिल शक्नी हो तो फतवा पर अमल करना चाहिए. Look at this point. Hazrat writes that if by making amal on taqwa, the highest level, by making amal on taqwa, somebody will be disheartened or somebody will feel remorseful or painful, then in that case you rather make amal on fatwa. He says ऐसे मौका पर तकवा की हिफाजत जायज़ नहीं. Then to work on taqwa in that case is not permissible. For example, now to understand, he says, by accepting a hadiyah, in a sense, your dhillat will come to the fore. And there will be izzat and respect and honor for your brother. Then rather give preference to the izzat of your brother than your outward dhillat. So what niyat a person should have? So niyat is simple. That every day, qasde adame ida. And not only necessarily adame qasde ida. There are 2 points. One is a person have no real intention of harming anybody. Most likely inadvertently he will. You don't wake up in the morning to harm people. What is required? Something more than that. Qasde adame ida. To make the intention deliberately, purposefully not to harm. Then you will be conscious of every action of yours. My opening the door, one is just, you didn't mean to open to disturb the girls from their sleep. You didn't mean it. But you just opened the door in a tough way. You closed it in a way that woke them up. So they tell you that you woke us up from our sleep. So really, I didn't mean to hurt you. So that is adame kasde ida. Adame kasde ida. On the other hand, if you woke up in the morning with this niyat of kasde adame ida, you will be conscious that when I open my door, I should not cause harm. When I close the door, I should not cause harm. Even if I'm making wudu where the room is so close, I'd rather go to a further wudu place because it's tahajjud, it's not mukallaf for people to be awake at this time. I shouldn't cause harm. If my even utilizing the chain when passing water, if it might wake up people from their sleep, I will use a toilet that is further, because this is not the time that people should be awake. This is a Kailula time. Look at what depth there is. Then you will see that you won't stand in the corridor while people are waiting behind you to walk past, and they are being just polite by not asking you to move. Because already you got kasde adme ida, you will be completely aware of your surroundings. You won't leave your shoe also on the floor and not put in the shoe rack, because a person will have to stretch over your shoe to get into the class. Because you're conscious all the time. The mannerism of making salam, the mannerism of speaking, it must not be that that it is disturbing somebody else. So these are things that we need to learn. So the first thing that a person should imbibe in obtaining good character, as we mentioned, we gave you a list. We'll start and we'll try to just give brief explanation, because otherwise we will never finish the list. So one is Tawbah. Hazrat Abdullah ibn Masud radiallahu ta'ala anhu explains Tawbah very briefly and shortly. He says that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned that a nadmu tawbatun, that regret is Tawbah. So as long as a person has a regret within himself, then to an extent Tawbah has been obtained. And this nadamat is very important. Like for example, if a person of some status you have done wrong to, then you will make sure you hold their feet, hold their hands, kiss their hands, till they forgive you. So because you got nadamat, you got regret. In the same way, this is the kayfiyat, the mannerism of turning towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in order to continue in this path of suluk towards Allah, you have to seek repentance of your past. So this is the starting point. If you look at kitabs our elders have written on imbibing good characteristics, you will find in most kitabs, the first thing that is mentioned is Tawbah. Whether you open Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi's Tabligh ud-Din, whether you open Maulana Ashraf Thanwi rahmatullah alayhi's Malfuzat, and in particular his teachings in Beshti Zevar of adopting good characteristics, they will start with Tawbah. Ma'azad also wrote a kitab, Islahul Akhlaq. And in get good characteristics, the first thing he wrote is Tawbah. Because you need to clean your slate before you can embark on this journey of suluk towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that will start with Tawbah. Because in Tawbah there is to a great extent fanayat, annihilation of oneself. Oh Allah, I have wronged your rights, I have wronged fellow people's rights. So you cannot embark on this journey till you do not clean the slate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And especially with people, if you have wrong them in terms of finances, then basically to repay it. If you have passed a rumor regarding them, which is totally false because of jealousy or hatred, then you have to rectify it. Many times people do ask this question, that if you have made ghibat of somebody, then do you go to that person and try to set the wrong right, or to make the wrong, to try to transform? In the case where the person is not aware of it and not directly impacting them, then don't tell them, because that now will create a barrier between them and you. So to make amends, then basically to set the thing right with your friends, that you have said this about the person is inappropriate, it was incorrect. So the first thing in adopting good characteristics is tawbah. And tawbah, all those abwab regarding huququllah and huququl ibad, where it is salat that you haven't performed, to start with qadai umri, whether it is fast that you broke intentionally, to give kafara for it. If it is other huququllah that you have undone, you have done wrong, then try to rectify it and find out from the ulama how do you. Is regarding huququl ibad, then to recompense and to repay those that you have violated in any form. Then the second thing after tawbah is to inculcate, to imbibe within yourself khawf khuda, the fear of Allah. In fact, Hazrat Mu'adh radiallahu ta'ala anhu reports, the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, a mu'min's heart cannot be free of khawf. And this fear of his will never find ease, meaning he will be in this constant state till death. First, if I did the amal, you have the fear whether Allah accepted it or not. What happens if I am not maqbool in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How do you create this khawf khuda? This is what muraqabah. To take few seconds in the day to sit and just contemplate that my Allah is aware of every action of mine, every utterance of mine, my inward and outward condition. And then also, very, very important, that I would have to stand in front of Allah and give accountability of my life. This khawf is not there. Therefore, our subordinates, those that we feel are lower than us, we utter whatever we want to. Whether it's a husband to the wife, because she is at his mercy, then she don't think twice. Or he doesn't think twice. Both ways. Because this consciousness of khawf, of standing in front of Allah, has lost us. So every day to contemplate and sit for a while and just think that every action of mine, every utterance of mine, every condition of mine, whether it be private or public, I'll have to give accountability on the day of Qiyamah. So that is the second point of akhlaq hamida. So just to recap, the first was tawbah. So before we embark on this journey, therefore when you take bi'at, the first thing the Shaykh does is to make collective tawbah. But we cannot embark on this journey without it. We need to clean the slate first, then. Second is to embark and imbibe within ourselves the khawf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In that, to make muraqabah and to conscientize yourself daily that Allah is totally aware of every amal of yours, every qawl of yours, every zahir of yours, every batin of yours. At the same time, third, to be hopeful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. Because if you despond on the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your relation with Allah ta'ala will be very, very estranged. To be hopeful is part of Iman. Like how to be fearful is part of Iman, to be hopeful is part of Iman. And how do you inculcate? Because that's the next question. There's hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One is that to the best of your ability, to be obedient to every hukam of Allah. To the best of your ability, to stay away from every sin. And with that, we have hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept your amal. So therefore, it is very, very important that even at the time of tawbah, that we have hope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because unfortunately, when a person is not hopeful, they become very despondent, and then they go onto the other extreme of becoming indifferent to amal. Because hope is the thing that is going to propel you towards amal. That inshallah Allah ta'ala will reward you. At the same time, you have that element of fear that whether it is maqbool in Allah. But the thing that becomes a catalyst towards amal is hope. And especially the promises Allah has made in the Quran and via Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's tongue in the Ahadith and Mubarakah as to what we will receive because of the amal that we do. So basically, just to recap, to understand what is akhlaq hamida, it is not only confined to adam qasd ida, but actually to make qasd adam ida every day, to make the intention purposefully that I will not harm anybody. And I will become conscious of every action of mine that should not violate anybody in any form, whether it be on a physical level, on an emotional level, on a spiritual level. And then to start with tawbah. And the next thing is to create the khawf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within ourselves, and then the hope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To have great ummeed in Allah's zat. Subhanallah.